So I wanted to talk about Perfect Days by Wim Wenders because it's such a mood changer in a good way. Like you know how people like go on YouTube and they use like videos that are chill lo-fi or rain videos, this will help you sleep videos. This is the kind of movie that chills me out to where I can put the world into a manageable focus, if that makes sense. There's not a whole lot of dialogue in a first good chunk of the movie. There's not a ton of dialogue throughout. It's just like sort of this almost like ritual. It's a guy who cleans toilets in Tokyo, and he seems to really be in tune with whatever it is that he's doing. And he takes this job. I don't want to say he takes it seriously, but you get the feeling that he almost just has gratitude for being alive. He wakes up, he has a routine. As soon as he's dressed and goes outside, he looks up and smiles at the sky as if to say, wow, I get another day. They do go through the backstory a little bit at the end. So it is possible that we get a little bit of a glimpse inside the character, that he may have stepped away from a world that was not like this world at all, and he's enjoying every moment of what he's created. But you do get the sense that he actually enjoys what's happening, the routine of it. You know, little things like catching lights with shadows, and he takes a picture of it, and then he gets it developed as part of his routine on his day off. Other things like he plays tic-tac-toe with a stranger who leaves a piece of paper behind a little corner of a restroom, public restroom in Tokyo. And the restrooms are so beautiful. I've never been to Tokyo. I've always wanted to go. It's on my list. It looks like something that I would expect from Tokyo or Japan. Just these beautiful designs. Things are treated with reverence, it feels like. And they're outside, public, in parks, on street corners, whatever. And he just cleans them, and you get this real sense that he's in tune with himself. That every step he takes is something to be revered, and just to take everything with some gratitude, right? And I think there's something interesting in that because, it's not trying to win you over in a loud sense. A lot of times, it feels like, you know this, but like movies they're loud and they're trying to win you over with explosions and people getting thrown through walls and superhero outfits. And that's fine. But when you have a lot of that and it feels like the world is really noisy, it's nice to run into a movie like this that's just so beautiful. It's just so well done. The music and the sounds and the quiet and the habit that he gets into, and it almost makes you want to appreciate whatever it is that you're doing. The first time I saw this in the theater, I remember thinking, he's making cleaning toilets seem very like meta and almost like meditation. So if he's able to do that cleaning toilets, why can't I do that with whatever I'm doing? I think for me, it's inevitable that I start applying this to my own life. And you start thinking about things that you take for granted, the little things up how I say, oh, I've got to do this, or I've got to go to the store or whatever, rather than I get to go to the store. Ooh, I can go to the store. Just those little tiny tweaks that take you from below onto the negative side of things, maybe, to above, to an enlightened perspective, perhaps. I went to music school. I know I've probably said that before, but one of my favorite minds and composers, more mind than composer, was John Cage, the American philosopher and composer. And he really shook up the classical world in the mid-20th century because he's the one who wrote the famous piano piece that's 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and the pianist walks out and they don't play anything. Right? They just lift up the thing, they count, there's music, right? But there's no notes. So they sit there and they count. And the point of it was that the sounds that happen during the recital are the piece. That's the idea. I think it's a beautiful idea. So if somebody sneezes, the HVAC system kicks on, a child laughs, a dog barks. That's the work, that's the sound work every time. And after you count it, 4 minutes and 33 seconds or whatever, you get up, they applaud, and you walk off. Well, the first few times it didn't go like that. People were outraged, and they're still mad about it, I think. But the reason I bring it up is because somebody was asking him why he did stuff like that. Why do you constantly push the boundaries? Why are you making works that involve silence? He's a big silence guy. He loves silence. And they were asking him about it, and he said, growing up as a young adult in the mid-20th century, there was so much carnage and blood from the first two world wars. Nobody wanted to hear loud, or a lot of people didn't want to hear loud music. We wanted to hear quiet, reflective stuff after that, almost like the chapel after the death, so to speak. And so it always stuck with me. I always thought it was a beautiful way to put it. And that reminds me of this movie, Perfect Days. Because with everything that's going on, the speed of everything, the pace at which we have to shove ourselves into, not just to try and save money or come up with a new purchase, but just to survive, it can be really damaging and overwhelming. And so when you see a movie like this and you just kind of sink back and go, I see where this is going day after day. And it has a beautiful ending about love and going after things, but in his own way, I think it's just great. Now, I did see an interview with Wim Wenders where he talked about how he wrote this movie, and it was kind of around COVID time. And he thought, this is what he said, that, this is going to change everything. COVID's going to change everything. We went from a society that was full stop, headed into the brick wall. We're going to crash. We're going to collide. We're burning out. We're overworking, overproducing, all that. And COVID's going to change everything. And then when things got back to normal, he said he was kind of struck by how we had gone back to the grow at all costs, always producing more, growth, eternal growth, always growth. And he said he was kind of shocked by that, and he loved the idea of this character who goes to a bookstore, a local bookstore, gets a little paperback, sits with it for a while, reads it, thinks about it, and then goes and gets another one and does the same thing, rather than kind of the way we do things now. And I'll include myself in this, where we got 5 books we're reading. I'm reading a little bit of this, I put it aside, I order another one, I'll read this one next, and whatever. It's a habit that seems to be learned, I would say, where I don't really sit in things anymore. Not as much as we used to. We don't sit in ideas, in books, in movies. And he said that this was like a big inspiration for this movie, was to just get something where you had to sit in it, where you had to have this sort of church-like approach to it, where you just sat there. Not that you were being lectured to, not that you were being judged or anything like that, but just a little something different than what we normally get. And it's just you, the movie, peace, harmony, reverence, double thumbs up for me. Loved it.